So in this video I'm gonna show you one of the biggest problems that people are facing whenever they are working with materials in Blender or whenever they are creating their own materials. Actually, I don't think it's a mistake, but I think it's like a general problem that a lot of people don't know how to solve. So for that reason, today I'm gonna show you how you can solve this problem, and I also believe that you actually might learn something very interesting today. So let's go right into the video. So as you can see, I have this tile material applied on the ground, and this is actually a procedural material, which means that this material is fully customizable. So now if I open the shader editor, you can see the node setup for this material, and this material is actually not that complex. As you can see, we have basically two principal BSDF nodes, which basically represents two different materials, and we also have a mask to basically determine where each material should be displayed. Now let's say you are actually done with the creating of the material and you want to simplify the node setup. So what we can do is that we can select all these nodes except the material output, and we can press Ctrl G. And now if you press tab on the keyboard, you can see that all these nodes were collapsed into one single node group. And the advantage of this method is that we can basically control the whole material only from this node, without the need to actually find the property that we want to adjust. But in order to do this, we need to first plug all these properties that we want to control into this node group. So we will open the node group, and whatever input we connect to this node group, we can actually control it from here. So first I'm gonna connect to the scale of the brick texture. I will also connect the mortar size. So let's connect it. I'm going to also connect the Voronoi texture, which basically determines the damage of the tiles. So let's connect this W slider into the group input. Let's also connect the colors. So I'm gonna plug the color A, and I'm gonna also plug the color B. Let's go. And lastly, I'm gonna plug the displacement into the node group. So let's take the scale and let's plug it to the group input. So now if I collapse this node group, you can see that we have all these properties that we connected available here, which means that we can control all these properties directly from this node. Now this is when the problem occurs. As you can see, we can connect only these properties that have these inputs right there. But what if we want to connect these properties right here that doesn't have any input, but we still want to control them and adjust them from the node group? We can't connect them because they don't have any sockets, or maybe we want to adjust the position of these sliders right here. But again, we cannot connect them to the node group because they don't have any socket. Or what we can do if we want to invert these bump normals directly from the node group. So how can we do this? The solution of this problem are drivers. So essentially we can create a new controller here in the node group. Then we can copy the data path of this property and we can apply it on the new controller. So I'm gonna show you how we can do this. So open the node group, and if you press N on your keyboard and you go to group, you will see that here we have all these properties that we have in the node group. And with this plus icon right here, we can create a new property and we will create a new input. And now we have a completely new property. As you can see, we have the property right here. And let's say that, for instance, I would like to control this offset property of the brick texture. Essentially, this offset button controls how the tiles are distributed. As you can see, every second row is basically affected by this offset button, which is then controlled by this frequency. So let's change the name of this input to offset. We will remain the input type to float because we are basically working with the decimal number, which float is. But as you can see, the offset is basically a factor from 0 to 1, where the 0 is basically the minimum and the 1 is the maximum. So we can set the subtype to factor, and here we can set the minimum to 0, and we can set the maximum to 1. This way we are basically setting the same rules for this property as if we were using the offset directly in this brick texture. So now collapse the node group, and now let's right click on the offset, and now we will copy the data path. Or you can copy the full data path, but it will work either way. So I will copy the full data path. Now again, expand the node group, find the brick texture, and now again right click on the offset, and let's add a new driver. Now you should see this window, which is basically temporary, because if you click anywhere else it will disappear, but you can always just right click again on the offset and you can edit the driver, and this menu will basically appear again. We will change the type to the sum values. Let's change the variable to single property. Since we are using a material property, we will change the property to material. And because the name of this material is material, as you can see right here, we will select the material that we are using right now. And now in this box that just appeared, we will actually paste the full data path that we copied from the property inside the node group. So let's paste it. Let's press enter. And if you have no red areas and this box turns black, this means that everything is working fine and we basically set up everything correctly. So now we can actually go back, we can close this node group, and now if I control the offset, you can see that now I am successfully controlling the offset of the brick node. And I don't have to go back and just manually find the node and control it from inside. I can do this comfortably from the outside. However, there are some things that you should know about this method. For example, if you change the order of these settings, and you will for example move this up, you can see that it will no longer influence the offset of this brick texture, because we need to again repeat the full process of copying the data path and just pasting it into the driver, which can be a little bit frustrating, especially if you don't know why this happens. The same thing also applies if you change the material name right here, because then you need to go back to the driver settings and you need to change the material right here, and you will also need to copy the data path again. So I hope you liked this video, I hope you learned something new today, and if you did, subscribe to Graphinity to see more videos like this in the future. And if you would like to get this procedural material pack right here, you can check out the first link in the description under this video. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next video.